Right, let's get some analysis now from Jaroslaw Strozyk. He previously served as Director of Analysis at the Polish Military Intelligence Service, and he is also the former Deputy Intelligence Director at NATO headquarters in Brussels. Welcome to TRT World. I just want to get your take on how big a deal is this, the fact that the Pentagon has now started sending US ammunition to Ukraine from its stockpile in Israel.
We are facing a crucial week and crucial decisions for Ukraine. Of course, the ammunition could be sent from any place all over the world. It's very much needed now in Ukraine. But we are facing decisions of NATO countries, of friends of Ukraine in Ramstein and Brussels this week to send more sophisticated tanks, namely Leopards, German-owned, German-produced. But we need everything, I would say, and giant leaps, if I could rephrase famous saying, giant leaps of sending new equipment. But the major problem now is timing of the training. It needs time. Soldiers need time for the training, but hopefully that could be resolved in a reasonable manner of time.
And just going back to what is being shipped from Israel, this is a stock, US stock that is there in Israel. But this is not, as I understand it, Israel directly sending its own supplies. And how different would that be? How serious would that be?
Of course, that might be a concern for the Israel, for the stocks, pre-positioned stocks which are there. But as I said, that could be very easily again sent to Israel if needed. Now it's very much needed in Ukraine, but I understand that the relations between the US and Israel sometimes are let's say, different or difficult, but now Ukraine is on the top of the geopolitical arena and security dimension.
And do you think the US has enough to keep supplying Ukraine?
That's a very good question. We need to open new lines in some factories, some old factories, not only in the US, of course. US is quite ready to produce more, but I don't think that some NATO allies are ready for that, to include Poland. And so we need to do more to be ready for sustained deliveries, not only to Ukraine, but for ourselves, just to prepare for the worst.
Jaroslav, I'm going to ask you just to stay there where you are. We're going to listen to what the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, is saying. He's actually summing up the diplomatic results of last year at a news conference. Let's listen to what he's saying.
Demonization and sanctions, threat of use of force. Those are some of the methods they use to achieve their goals. The West has taken up the policy of destroying the traditional ties between historic partners in various parts of the world and destabilization of various regions. We see it in the Balkans, in the post-Soviet space, especially if we consider the activities of the United States and its acolytes and clients in South Caucasus, and naturally everything that is going on in Ukraine that has been developing for a long time. For example, in 2004, when the first Maidan took place, European officials said for the first time, Ukraine needs to choose. Is it with the West or is it with Russia? This either-or policy has been visible in the West's policy regarding this region in a consistent manner. And those who made the wrong choice and wanted historic ties and brotherhood traditions and religious ties with Russia matter. Initially, the West would crush them. They would try to exclude them from political life. They would prosecute them. They would assassinate journalists and politicians. They would shut down media outlets if they refused to spread the official position. The police state used all means available, and right now the process is over with the silent approval of the West. And the alternative choice, either or, West or Russia, were needed to identify those who were against the West, who were not with the West. And the West started punishing these people. And let's get back to the declaration. It's an interesting paper indeed. And the EU and NATO were proclaimed to be an alliance of democracies against autocracies amid global competition. This confrontational agenda was proclaimed for the entire world to hear. And just like I have already pointed out, Europe has lost its independence. And the joint declaration explicitly states that European...
All right, you've just been listening there to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov summing up the diplomatic results of last year at a news conference there, live from Moscow. And let's go to Moscow. Dasha Chernyshova is there for us. What has stood out for you, Dasha, from what your foreign minister has been saying right now?
Well, indeed, that's the long press conference that has just started, but we are expecting the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to sum up the results of 2022, those diplomatic results as the year has ended. What he said so far was that that was a unique year in terms of how many things have developed, the things that have been maturing for years. Those are, according to the Russian Foreign Minister, the policies, the real policies of the Western countries. So he once again lashed out against the Western countries, saying that they are responsible for what is happening globally right now, for the start of Russia's so-called special military operation. He said that the crisis in Ukraine has started long before Russia has launched its operation. He said that the West has made Ukraine to choose whether it is with the West or whether Kiev is with Russia. And he said that that was a very difficult choice for Ukraine. All in all, he said there was the alliance of so-called democracies against the autocracies that NATO and the US have proclaimed against all the other countries in the world. So once again, the Russian foreign minister has been putting forward this narrative of the West against Russia. He also said that the Western countries have been destabilizing everything they could in the Balkans, now in the post-Soviet space. And from his perspective, this is what is driving the current changes globally. So Russia is once again maintaining that the operation in Ukraine is much larger and will have much more significant implications than just for Moscow or Kiev. It is Russia's confrontation with the Western countries in Ukraine.
Dasha, thank you so much. Dasha Chernyshova live from Moscow. And let's go back to our guest who is still with us, Jaroslaw Strozyk. He's a director of analysis previously at a Polish military intelligence service. What did you make of what Sergei Lavrov said there? Very strong words against Europe. Europe has lost its independence. The EU has been fully subjugated to the dictatorship of America. These are just two statements that he made there.
Nothing new, Maria. If I might recall, Mr. Sergei Lavrov exactly a year ago said that we are not going, Russia is not going to invade Ukraine. So another stack of propaganda, I wouldn't call it directly lies. It is a manner of speaking by Mr. Lavrov. So, of course, we should pay attention to this narrative, but that's simply, this is not true. This is purely, we should talk about Russian aggression on Ukraine, not about this, let's say, stories made by Russia.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed also for staying with us. Always a pleasure to have you on, Jaroslaw Strozyk.